Gunnar Henderson just keeps on hitting. Let's discuss on Fantasy Baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Thursday, September 15th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White. And let's take a look at Gunnar Henderson, the prospect for the Orioles, who went 2 for 4 with a double and a triple. He added 4 RBI here on Wednesday night. He is now batting .320 with an .890 OPS early on in his career. Only 69% rostered, Scott. That kind of surprised me. He's got 7 games next week, 3 lefties on the schedule. The problem is I don't know that he'll play against all of them. What do you think about Gunnar Henderson for next week?
Yeah, at some point, you have to figure the Orioles are going to take him out of the lineup, and left-handers would make sense. They've only faced 2 left-handers since he got called up. He started against the first. He sat against the second. That's that time he sat against the second. That's the only time Henderson's been out of the lineup so far, but they don't want him exceeding 130 at-bats. They want him keeping rookie eligibility for next year. So maybe they'll start to sit him against left-handers. Still, the matchups are good. I don't think they'd sit him against all 3 of the left-handers on the schedule. I still like him as a play for next week. I'm not saying he's must start. I mean, if you're talking about a head-to-head context where there's just a 9-man hitter lineup, maybe you'd think about Henderson for the utility spot, but you may already have a stud at the other positions where he's eligible. That's fine. You don't have to start him. But if it's a deeper scenario, like a roto scenario, more lineup spots to fill in, you'd be inclined to use Henderson anyway. I wouldn't let the left-handers on the schedule steer me away from that.
Eduardo Escobar and Josh Young are the 2 most added third basemen on CBS. Would you take Gunnar Henderson over both of those names?
I would.
All right. Oscar Gonzalez, we talk about him a lot recently. He went 3 for 4 with his 9th home run. He now has 4 homers over his last 6 games, 44% rostered with 7 games next week. I want to compare him to Charlie Blackmon, Scott, because Blackmon has really slowed down here in the second half. However, he's got 7 home games next week. So would you make that swap? Would you drop Charlie Blackmon for Oscar Gonzalez?
You know, it's the last full week of home games for the Rockies. Maybe your last chance to take advantage of a fringy Rockies hitter like Blackmon. Gonzalez has been hot. I would say if you need if it's a categories league and you're looking for home runs specifically, Gonzalez is your better bet. But in any other scenario, certainly if it's like a points league, I'd stick with Blackmon for that week, of course.
Brendan Rodgers has also slowed down quite a bit. Over his last 30 games, he's hitting .222 with a .616 OPS. Would you drop him for, say, Gunnar Henderson?
Maybe Henderson. Yeah, I think I would for Henderson. But I as with Charlie Blackmon, I think I'd be more inclined to start Rodgers than not if you presented me with a bunch of other scenarios.
All right, let's slide over to waiver wire pitchers. Nick Lodolo makes it back-to-back starts with 11 strikeouts. He's 74% rostered, so this is more of a shallow league option at this point. Ross Stripling has now turned in 6 straight quality starts, much like Nick Lodolo. Stripling is 78% rostered. And then Drew Smyly, another solid start. And in his last 8 outings, he has a 2.25 ERA, nearly a 14% swinging strike rate. And he's 34% rostered. All 3 of these pitchers are 2-star pitchers, or it looks like they're going to be 2-star pitchers. How would you rank them, Scott, for next week? Lodolo, Stripling, and Drew Smyly.
I think I'd rank them just like that, but I like all 3 of them a lot. I mean, Lodolo, I don't think you're going to be taking him out of your lineup the rest of the season the way his matchups look going forward and the way he's pitched recently. Stripling, 6 straight quality starts for him, which means 6 innings or more. There were issues going deep into games earlier this year, but that clearly isn't an issue now. Not a big strikeout guy, and I'm always a little scared of that, but you know, he's been so reliable. Stripling would be my second choice. Smyly's been great recently, though. Smyly in his last 8 starts, a 2.25 ERA, and 4 of those 8 starts, 6 innings or more. So it isn't even a situation where he's not giving you enough volume to matter. And the matchups are amazing for him, Marlins and Pirates. So I definitely like Smyly for next week. I just like Lodolo and Stripling a little more.
Scott, we did a little bit of this on the full length podcast, but projecting Julio Rodriguez is a very fun thing to do. He had a home run and a steal again here on Wednesday. He hasn't been running as much over the past 3 months or so. Where do you see Julio Rodriguez going in drafts next season?
So it was 19 steals in the first 3 months, only 6 combined in the last 3 for Rodriguez. Where do I see him going, you asked?
Yeah.
I think in Roto, I think he'll be a top 5 pick. Tons of upside.
But would you do it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would. And I don't know. It's going to be hard to project his steals for next year. It seems like he's not going to be as prolific a source of them as it looked like he'd be at first. And this tends to happen to middle of the order hitters. But the big wrinkle, and it's a big wrinkle. It's definitely going to be an issue next year, is all the rule changes that are being made. In particular, the limit of 2 pickoff throws for starting pitchers. And we see the effect it's had on stolen bases in the minors. I think it could be even a bigger effect in the majors, because the majors have been much more reluctant to steal bases. We've seen that in the majors as opposed to the minors, where they tend to be more aggressive anyway. But if the likelihood of a stolen base increases that much, then like stolen bases could explode in the majors, and Rodriguez would of course be a part of that. And then who knows, he could be a 40-40 guy. So yeah, top 5 pick for Julio Rodriguez. Showed a ton in his rookie season, and even more upside to be found, I would say.
For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.